On June 5th, 1968, shortly after midnight, the little brother of John F. Kennedy was shot in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Robert F. Kennedy had just finished a campaign victory speech for the California presidential primary when he was shot by Sirhan Sirhan. We are going to take you back to 1968 by digging into the archives to find pictures and footage of that fateful day and his funeral, today on Generations Found. Approximately 26 hours later, Senator Robert F. Kennedy died at 1:44 a.m. on June 6, 1968, at Good Samaritan Hospital, the very hospital 2 generations of my family were born in. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I remember this day all too well. Although I was very young, I do remember the teachers crying and being released from school that day so all could mourn the loss of a leader. I was so young when this happened that I thought it important to verify my memory by researching whether Los Angeles schools actually did close. While not a nationwide closure, many schools in the Los Angeles area did dismiss students early, canceled classes, or closed entirely due to shock, national mourning, and safety concerns during that period. The senator was shot in a kitchen hallway by 24-year-old Sirhan Sirhan, who was a Palestinian Jordanian immigrant and was not a U.S. citizen. During Sirhan's engagement, he managed to injure 5 other people. Sirhan was motivated by anger over Kennedy's support for Israel during the 1967 Six-Day War. After his trial in 1969, he was sentenced to death, which was later commuted to life in prison after California abolished the death penalty in 1972. He is still alive as of this video and is incarcerated in San Diego County, turning 82 in 2026. At this time, he has spent the last 58 years in prison. He is reported to be engaging in parole hearings and survived a serious prison stabbing in August of 2019, where he was slashed in the neck. The Ambassador Hotel was a very famous high-end luxury and historical hotel at 3400 Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. The hotel was also home of the famous Coconut Grove nightclub and host to 6 Oscar ceremonies and to every United States president from Hoover to Nixon. The death of Robert F. Kennedy marked the demise of the hotel as it coincided with the decline of the surrounding neighborhood. It was demolished in 2006. The Robert F. Kennedy Community Schools, along with the Robert F. Kennedy Inspiration Park, were built on the site. I found this remarkable photo of Robert F. Kennedy lying on the floor, mortally wounded, in the Ambassador Hotel kitchen. The photo was immediately after the shooting. Kneeling beside him is a 17-year-old busboy, Juan Romero, who was shaking Kennedy's hand when Sirhan Sirhan fired the shots. That must have haunted Juan for years to come. Just before Romero's death, at 68 years old, he is quoted as saying in an interview was StoryCorp. I kneeled down to him, and I could see his lips moving. So I put my ear next to his lips, and I heard him say, "Is everybody okay?" I said, "Yes, everybody's okay." I put my hand between the cold concrete and his head just to make him comfortable. I could feel a steady stream of blood coming through my fingers. I remember I had a rosary in my shirt pocket and I took it out, thinking he would need it a lot more than me. I wrapped it around his right hand and then they wheeled him away. Also beside him was Kennedy's wife, Ethel. Ethel was 3 months pregnant with their 11th child, daughter Rory Kennedy. She was soon led to his side and kneeled beside him. Kennedy turned his head, seemingly recognizing her. He soon lost consciousness and was taken to the Good Samaritan Hospital to undergo surgery. Surgery began at 3:12 a.m. and lasted approximately 3 hours and 40 minutes. Despite extensive surgery to remove the bullet and bone fragments from his brain, he was pronounced dead at 1:44 a.m. on June 6, close to 24 hours after the shooting. At the age of 13, David Kennedy witnessed his father being shot to death by assassin Sirhan Sirhan. After the shooting, David had a rough road and died very young. His uncle, Senator Edward M. Kennedy, is quoted as saying after David's death, "We all pray that David has found the peace that he did not find in life." Their 11 children largely pursued careers in law, politics, activism, and media, though their lives were marked by significant tragedy and struggles. Michael died young in a ski accident at age 39 in 1997. All of the children were under the age of 17 when the assassination occurred. Following the shooting, the country entered a time of intense mourning. Citizens across the nation experienced widespread sorrow, with many seeing his death as the loss of hope following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. 2 months prior. On June 8th, a 21-car train carried Kennedy's body from Penn Station to Washington, D.C. Union Station. Though RFK never served as president, he established a profoundly meaningful bond with the American citizens during the turbulent 60s. Speaking of MLK, only 2 months before Bobby's assassination, Martin Luther King Jr. was killed on April 4, 1968. In Indianapolis, Robert F. Kennedy was on his way to give a campaign speech when he learned the news and felt he needed to announce it and make a statement. When arriving at his destination, he climbed on the back of a flatbed truck and delivered his calming and unifying speech. Let's listen to a short portion of that moving speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm only going to talk to you just for a minute or so this evening because I have some very sad news for all of you. Could you lower those signs, please? I have some very sad news for all of you, and I think sad news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it's perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black, considering the evidence evidently is that there were white people who were responsible, you can be filled with bitterness and with hatred and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country, in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks and white amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that is spread across our land, with an effort to understand, compassion, and love.
We will listen to a little more of this speech later on in this video. Let's move on to the funeral. Unfortunately, the footage of his burial was at night, creating footage that is hard to see. The burial at Arlington National Cemetery on June 8, 1968, took place at night because the funeral train transporting his body from New York to D.C. was delayed by over 4 hours due to huge emotional crowds lining the tracks. The train was originally scheduled to arrive in the afternoon, but did not reach Union Station until 9:10 p.m. Hence, the funeral at Arlington did not start until 11:34 in the evening. While we were watching the evening funeral, let's talk about some interesting things I came across in the archives involving Bobby. Here are some sobering correspondences. They are letters between Judy Garland and Bobby Kennedy. Judy Garland became severely ill in Hong Kong in late May 1964. This illness followed by a disastrous Australian tour where she suffered a near-fatal overdose, a coma, and pleurisy, which is the inflammation of the thin membrane lining the lungs and chest cavity, sometimes in an oxygen tent, and was in critical condition after a severe reaction. Here is how the letters read. This letter is dated May 28, 1964, and it's addressed to Judy Garland. Thinking of you, and we want you to know how much you are loved and needed by all of us. I have notified the American consul in Hong Kong that you are there, so let him know if he can be of any help to you. In the meantime, if there's anything we can do, please get in touch with me. Love, Bobby and Ethel. She immediately responded to him within a week, and her telegram reads from Hong Kong: Attorney General Robert Kennedy, Washington, D.C. Dearest Bobby, getting stronger every day. Medics advise not leaving Hong Kong until Friday at least. Shall probably proceed to Tokyo. Itinerary changed because of weather, but will keep you advised at all times. God bless you for your help. I send you dearest love, Judy Garland. We have been watching Ethel and Ted Kennedy standing at graveside. Also in attendance that evening were members of the Kennedy family, such as Jacqueline and Rose Kennedy. The crowd also included President and Lady Bird Johnson, Vice President Herbert H. Humphrey, along with astronaut John Glenn, just to name a few. The funeral service at Arlington drew a vast crowd of mourners and dignitaries. Although it's hard to see, people around the gravesite are holding candles. The folded U.S. flag from the coffin is given to Ethel Kennedy. President Johnson and other VIPs expressed their condolences to Mrs. Kennedy. Jackie Kennedy and her children kneel at the coffin, and 2 children place flowers on the grave. Before coming to Arlington, a Catholic Mass was held at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. Let's take a look at that footage. Also present at this event was President and Mrs. Johnson, members of the Kennedy family, and ex-Supreme Court Justice and Ambassador to the United Nations, Arthur Goldberg. The funeral mass was held at St. Patrick's Cathedral because he was a U.S. Senator representing New York and lived in the area, with the cathedral serving as a major venue to accommodate the thousands of mourners who came to pay their respects. His brother Ted then reads a quote from his brother.
Some men see things as they are and say why. I dream things that never were and say why not.
Thousands of people lined up outside the cathedral to pay their respects. As promised, we were going to listen to more of RFK's speech when he learned Martin Luther King had been shot. Let's listen in again.
For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and mistrust of the injustice of such an act against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed. but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States. We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult times. My favorite poem, my favorite poet was Aeschylus. And he once wrote, "Even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God." What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, and a feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or whether they be black. So I ask you tonight to return home, to say a prayer for the family Martin Luther King. Yeah, it's true. But more importantly, to say a prayer for our own country, which all of us love. A prayer for understanding and that compassion of which I spoke. We can do well in this country. We will have difficult times. We've had difficult times in the past, but we will have difficult times in the future. It is not the end of violence. It is not the end of lawlessness, and it's not the end of disorder. But the vast majority of white people and the vast majority of black people in this country want to live together, want to improve the quality of our life, and want justice for all human beings that abide in our land. And what dedicate ourselves to what the Greeks wrote so many years ago, to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. Let us dedicate ourselves to that and say a prayer for our country and for our people. Thank you very much.
Robert F. Kennedy is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, only about 30 yards from his brother, President John F. Kennedy. RFK's grave is in Section 45, marked by a simple white cross and a granite marker near JFK's eternal flame. Ethel Kennedy is buried alongside her husband. She was laid to rest on November 25, 2024, following her death at age 96. Ethel and Robert were married for 18 years. Thank you for joining us today. We invite you to watch all our videos, from famous funerals to diving into the archives to find generations of history. And always please remember to be kind in everything you do, including the comments you make.